we get that we get hung up on that phrase, a starving artist, right?
Mm.
Nobody should starve. Let's just say that. Let's just put that out there. Nobody should starve. Nobody should be starving. We live in a really crazy time and a really crazy world, but nobody should be starving.
Welcome to Leaf Nodes, the podcast that helps your business take root and grow. I'm Adria Marshall, seasoned business owner and speaker.
And I'm Sanima Fuka, artist, illustrator, and small business owner.
Join us each week as we take you on a journey through the ups and downs of entrepreneurship. We'll dive into everything from social media strategy to protecting your business.
We'll even answer your burning questions such as, do I need a business plan? Should I form an LLC? Where should I promote my business? And so much more.
Together with our guests, we'll break down these topics into actionable steps, helping you build the business of your dreams.
So whether you're just starting or you're looking to scale, we got you covered.
So go grab your notebooks, your favorite beverage, and cozy up to receive practical insights and inspiration here on Leaf Notes. Let's go make your business dreams a reality.
Hello, and welcome to our podcast. I'm super excited to bring you one of my friends who's also an artist, Vanna. Oh my gosh.
No, right?
I'm super excited to have you on here.
Me too. I'm excited to be here.
Something that I really love about your work is that you are it's so vibrant, and you have been able to get to a point where it's literally everywhere around the city.
Yeah, somewhat everywhere. Working on it.
Working on it. And it's like so cool, you know.
Yeah.
And so I really want to just start off by asking you, what have you always been creative? What is your creative origin story?
Ooh, that's a loaded question, Sydney. Okay, we're gonna start off there. Let's see. My creative origin story is I've been painting and drawing since I was young. Art has always just been in my life. It's never not a part of my story. I remember my first coloring book was the Jetsons coloring book. So you will always hear me say this in like a lot of stuff that I mentioned. And I think that is what I remember most about my childhood is like you could put me down and sit me in front of like a pencil or you can put paper in front of me and that was the only way I would stay sitting for hours on end. So my origin story is like art was the thing that I attracted to and gravitated to even as a toddler.
That's super cool. So like was that all, did that just travel with you through like high school, middle school, all those things, or did you ever like take a break and come back?
Yeah, it was an amalgamation of different things. So let's see, from elementary school, it was definitely no, let's roll that back. I'm gonna go back to pre-K. So in pre-K, we would do a lot of creative things because you can't read and write just yet. So it was a lot of crafting with like the noodles, gluing the noodles to the page to make the letter A. Just even seeing shapes from there. And I think just really learning shapes and like learning the alphabet and seeing the alphabet of shapes. And then moving into elementary school, art class was always my favorite. But my art class, unfortunately, was in a basement. It was like in what looked like a dungeon. So it was dark and dank and like, just think of like medieval, you're in a dungeon. That's what it looked like. You're in this 150-year-old elementary school. Like the school was old, okay? So you're like trying to bring life to this little elementary school. But I think from there, I was able to get into eighth grade. And I was really able to hone in eighth grade and find my little bit of artistic style then. And I was really attracted to drawing people and faces. And art class is my favorite class in eighth grade. I really didn't do anything like fifth, sixth, and seventh grade, but I did do a lot in eighth grade. And then moving into high school, I didn't take any art classes in high school. Not at all.
Clutching my pearls.
I drew. I did have like Saturday weekend painting class, but it wasn't to the extent of like professional, or like it was like maybe like a couple one-offs,
Mhm.
and um but it was just enough to keep me kind of like entertained, but it wasn't something like like consistent, I would say.
Mhm.
But to have art not really be like a focal point in my high school, it was more so like poetry that was a creative outlet for me. So I did a lot of writing, a lot of
Mhm.
creative writing, a lot of freestyle writing, and it was a lot. I wrote probably over like 300 poems. Ask me
So
where they are now. They're in the past. But yeah, I wrote a lot because my mom passed when I was 12.
Mhm.
So I really didn't have an affinity to draw anymore. It was more so like I wanted to express myself through a different medium, and poetry was what spoke most to me. And then once I got out of high school and moved into college, I went to a community college, which at the time was called Georgia Perimeter,
Mhm.
and I fell in love with photography because I worked at a portrait studio. And I was like, well, this is something that I want to do. And I dabbled in photography for like 3 or 4 years, and it was the love of my life at the time. I thought that's what I wanted to do. I still love photography. I love photography for the fact of perspective and composition and contrast. And you'll see a lot of that in my work is composition. Perspective and contrast. And so that's what I gravitate to towards most. Um, and then when I got my camera stolen, I was a little bit disappointed. I know,
What's
right?
up with these obstacles?
You just got a bunch of you gotta keep it moving. And so I got my camera stolen by actually a staff member at the college. And so that took away a lot of like me at the time. This was like early 2000s. So cameras then were very expensive. And so it was like I couldn't just go and buy another camera like on the whim,
Mhm.
and camera phones really weren't a thing. So it was
Yeah.
like, okay, how am I supposed to capture my pictures now? So I kept going forward, trying to figure out really what I wanted to do. I would sketch every now and again. I always kept a sketchbook because I was just like, this is it's a part of me. And then when I got into to go get my bachelor's, I wanted to go to Georgia State and get a degree in art and drawing, painting and drawing,
Mhm.
and I didn't make it into the program. Yeah, I know. I didn't make it into the program. And so from there, I was really disappointed. But I was like, you know what? There's another avenue. I have been doing a lot of graphic design at the job that I was working at, which is West End Print Shop. And from there, I was able to say, okay, I think graphic design might be the road that will get me where I want to be. And I really did fall in love with graphic design because it was fun. I was, even though I was doing it at work, I had a lot of creativity because the artwork pieces that I was creating, granted they were for a customer, they were still my own style that I was able to kind of produce and say, oh, okay, the customer's really going to like this. And so I went to school, got my degree in graphic design. And then once I got my degree in graphic design, I got a job, and I was an in-house designer for this nonprofit organization. And I will be honest, loved the people, hated the job. Absolutely loved the people. I had like I met so many great people that I'm still friends with today, that I still talk to today. But the the I think I wasn't understanding myself too. This was like my
Mhm.
first type of like real job, and I didn't really know myself as a person to not be so emotionally driven inside of the workplace. And so that made it a lot more difficult to just be, creative and not let the job get the best of me.
Mhm.
And so I fell out of love with graphic design, and I was just like, I don't ever want to do this for as a living for anybody else. And I would rather it be something that is a keepsake for myself and to build my business, which is where we are today.
Yay! Wow, what an extensive story. You know what's crazy is that the fact that you've been driven to so many art forms,
Mhm.
I think that's just the creative spirit and how it is. I feel like most of us just
Yeah.
we find ourselves interested in all kinds of different
Mhm.
things, and it's really cool that even though one outlet wasn't giving, you were like,
Yeah.
let me go over here and
Yeah.
try out this other one." And then it was giving for a period of time.
Mhm.
And Do you ever feel like you would pick up photography again? I know you said you still love it.
I do. I use it on occasion. If I see something very interesting that attracts my eye, and I'm like, "Ooh, I like the way this sits in this frame and
Mm.
in this composition." So when I'm out on trips, I take a lot of pictures when I'm out, just walking and meandering in nature, which is my favorite thing to do. And I think for me, eh, photography is always there. It's never not there. So I have my camera phone and I'm able to do that. And then I use my boyfriend's camera. So yeah.
So earlier in your when you were telling me about how you liked doing portraiture, I can tell that your style seems very like different from that right now. And I wanted to know like what was your journey with finding your style?
Ooh.
And like which do you still do portraiture but just not as much or in a different form? Like
Mm,
what's going on?
yeah. So for me, I do portraiture as like a keepsake for myself, just to see if I still got the skills and like, hone in on those skills.
Mm,
But how I got to this style was just dabbling in different organic shapes. And I set myself on a birthday project back in 2020. Yep, back in 2020, I was like, I want to find some consistency in my hands, and how do I develop a style from that? And so I set myself on a project, and the project was a 30-day project from the beginning of August to the end of August, which is my birthday, August 30th.
mm,
And so I gave myself those 31 days of August to use different colors, but the same organic shapes, um, and see how I can kind of make them all look different, but within the same context and the same style. So I used a lot of different colors, a lot of different patterns, but the overall one shape mixed with like two or three other shapes were that was the base of the project. And
mm,
so I took that, I gave myself those limitations, and from there, I was able to develop um, 31 different, like little, they look very aquatic by the time I was finished with the series of 31 drawings. And so from there, I was like, okay, it seems like I'm really attracted to nature. And so from there, I would just dabble with different like landscape paintings. And I would try to do the whole Bob Ross thing, and that wasn't working out. And I would try to do like mimic other artists' hands.
mm,
And it wasn't really like, it was just really me trying to find myself and find my style for like a good year
mm,
with doing that. And then when I started doing they just came to me, these landscape paintings, it just kind of
mhm,
came to me, and I was like, I want to play with contrast, and I want to play with colors that don't really match each other, and I want things to really, really pop. And so I was asked to be a part of an art show, and eh, overnight this vision came to me, and I wanted to be about Sojourner Truth.
mm,
Yeah, so I can't remember the name of the show. I would have to look it up, and you could probably put it up later. But basically, the show was historical references, like that kind of attached us to our ancestors. And the name of the piece that I did was called Sojourner Bears Fruit, and it was in reference to a speech that Sojourner Truth spoke. And she talked basically about who she was as a person and basically bearing fruit for the future generation.
mm.
And so that painting was a lot of landscapes and a lot of color, and nothing matched, and everything was so different. And it was just this really illustrative painting with like things that look like I put fabric on there. And from there, it was like these things are like layering on top of each other. And so I have a lot of landscape paintings that just look like layers on layers on layers. And I think that's really how I was able to move into where I am today.
That's so
Yeah.
cool because I feel like my journey was very similar. You know,
Mhm.
it's a lot of trial and error and
Yes.
seeing what other artists have done, studying those things, and then seeing what also brings you the most joy and that passion, it actually shows. And like through your work, I can like the colors look like they go together to me. Like, I'm like, oh my gosh. And then with the names, and then I like when you name them and I actually like look at them, I love how it takes you on its own journey in
Yeah,
a way. So I feel like that's a beautiful journey of how
thank
you
you.
like found your style. And I was wondering, like, do you have any advice for any aspiring artists? 'Cause I know that finding our style is something that I feel like it's like a kid wanting to grow up, right? It's like, "I can't
Mhm.
wait till I find my style. Everything's gonna make sense when I find my style," right?
Right.
So, do you have any advice for anyone who is still trying to find their style?
Try everything. One, try everything. Two, be patient with yourself. I think patience is definitely how you get there
Mm,
because, like I said before, I was mimicking other styles for a little bit, and I would take elements of other people's drawings and I would kind of like mash them together,
mm,
and it looked nothing like either one of the people's styles that I was like, taking from. And I think when you're copying or when you're mimicking just for the sake of trying to figure it out, I think through that you kind of figure out like, oh, I like the way this looks, and I like
mhm,
the way I want to adopt this particular part of someone's style. And I think that's really how all artists figure out their style. They see something that they like and they try it, but they try it in their hand, and the next thing you know, it becomes theirs because
mhm,
it's the same repetition, and then all of a sudden you're mastering this one style or an element or a particular group of patterns that are yours. So I use a lot of patterns that are very recognizable that are in my series. So like you'll see two colors that like reverberate off of each other when you're looking at the green landscape. So I'll use two different greens,
mhm,
whether it be dark green and a light green, or like a mid green and a light green, or like super dark with a super light green.
mhm,
And so I just want to always be cognizant of like those color exchanges when using contrasting colors. And so those are some of the things like, okay, this is mine. Like I don't see this happening with anybody else's work. Um, and even if I do see it, it's still not in the same hand,
yeah, yeah.
So,
'Cause haven't you noticed, like, I know when I went to art school, we would have to do master studies, and it never ever looks exactly the same
mhm,
as the person who originally did it
exactly.
because we're all different and our hands work differently. You can't predict pressure and,
Mhm.
like, just those
Yeah,
little things. So,
yeah.
that's super cool because I feel like that's how I found my style. Like, I
Mhm,
found those set of artists that I'm addicted to, and I'm like,
mhm,
"I like that the way that you do this, the way that you
mhm.
do this," and you just kinda combined it into its own little medley, and it
Yeah,
becomes you,
yep,
and it becomes something brand new in a
mhm,
way. That's so cool,
yeah.
and I also love that I can see your style. Like, I can tell something's from you a mile away. Like, you
Oh,
have your own, like, signature with your work.
thank you. I appreciate that.
Of course, of course. Okay, so I know you're currently a part-time artist.
Yes,
So, is your goal to become a full-time
it
artist?
is. It
Yeah,
is definitely a dream of mine to become a full-time artist,
I know
for
that,
sure.
a lot of part-time artists, they say that, like, equating financials, right, with art
Mhm.
can sometimes stunt creativity. So what is
Yes.
something that motivates you to wanna be a full-time artist? Is it to be creating all the time? Is it just to be because you just wanna be doing what you love all the time? I know it's a tricky question.
Yeah, no, that's it's actually not a tricky question. It's a very easy question to answer. I think we get hung up on that phrase, a starving artist, right?
Mm.
Nobody should starve. Let's just say that. Let's just put that out there. Nobody should starve. Nobody should be starving. We live in a really crazy time and a really crazy world, but nobody should be starving.
Yeah.
And I think it takes a lot of dedication, determination, discipline.
Mhm.
And if you have a goal in mind, you put that goal up, whether it's visually in your head or on your mirror at home, somewhere where you can see that outcome that you're trying to reach.
Mhm.
And work backwards from there and say, what do you need to get there?
Mhm.
And I need a full-time job right now in order to get to that point, right? So it for me, it's being able to balance a full-time job, still performing well at that job because you're still
Mhm.
working for somebody else.
Mhm.
In the meantime, you have your artwork in the back of your mind that just eats at your conscience all the time. It's
Mhm.
constantly, it's never not there. It's literally like it's you, but it's the second you because you're not stepping in that role yet. So for me, it's very like, it's like that's where I want to be. How do I get there? And so for me, it's been so much focus on just trying to get there and having a big support system. I think having people believe in you too is also a part of the journey. Surrounding yourself with people who come to your art shows and people who cheer you on is very important, and not paying attention to the naysayers, because I'm
Mhm.
pretty sure I do have naysayers out there, but I don't even know because I don't pay attention to them. And I think that that is the beauty of surrounding yourself with people who say, Vanna, you can do it, and then that puts that belief in yourself that you can do it too.
Yeah, especially with art, because I feel like, delusion only lasts for so long. It'll
Yeah.
get you to start,
Hmm.
but during those hard times, it's like, "Oh, I need that extra push," and that's
Yeah.
like that person that supports you that's like, "You got this, like,
Hmm.
don't quit."
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
You have dreams and goals that nobody else can see. And it's almost to the point where you have to sell those dreams and goals for other people to see them,
Mhm.
and then you have to be okay with those who don't see that dream.
Yep.
And that think that's the hard part that people get stuck on. Is like, oh well, this person I really love doesn't see me, or they don't believe in my work, and it's disappointing. But you can't lean on that person. You have to move on from that person, and you have to say, okay, well, who is paying attention to me? Who is supporting me? And who is in my corner?
Yeah, I know that for me, there's definitely been people in my life, several people that I'm close to who are like, because I was like, I want to be a social media artist. I want to be able to put myself out there and make some money because that's cool. And I'm introverted, so that works. And I've had people be like, you went to school, like go get like a job at like a studio or something like that. I'm like, no, I don't like being told what to do. And it took like doing something for a year for them to be like, okay, I'm proud of you. Maybe you are
Yeah.
making something out of it. So it's sort of like you said, you can't listen to those voices that are telling you that you can't, and you just have to like believe that you can and surround yourself with people that believe that you can, even if it's one person,
Even if
right?
it's one person,
Yeah.
you just need that little bit of faith, and that
Mhm.
keeps you going. And affirmations to yourself. I
Yeah.
think writing those affirmations down that's the hardest part. It's like belief. And
Mhm.
how do you keep the belief going? How do you keep that faith going? And then you have to see it, right? When you're getting discouraged, because it's very hard to stay focused. And
Mhm.
how do you stay focused is you have to see it sometimes written down in front of you as just a little gentle nudge or gentle reminder.
Yeah, like for me, I have a vision board on my near my
Mhm.
desk. I'm like, I don't have that house yet, but I'm still dreaming, girl. It's coming. Like
Yeah.
I feel it. So, yeah, absolutely. I think that's really good advice. I'm inspired. So you've had your work displayed in all different kinds of forms. You've had them on like the what are those called? The electric boxes.
Mhm.
Maybe we'll put a picture on the screen. But
Yeah.
that you've had your stuff in stores. You worked with some big brands that like
Mhm.
we can't afford.
I can't even afford these brands, but they see me.
Like, ooh. So how did you get those opportunities? You don't have to tell us the whole process, but whatever you want to share. I'm interested.
What's so crazy is that I created a vision board in 2021, and I put a lot of intention. And I would say this would have been my third vision board that I created. I did a vision board with a group of people twice. This one I did by myself in my little cubby hole of a studio at the time. And I was like, I'm going to be intentional, and I'm gonna put love and care into this vision board. And I think when I did that, somebody at the time told me that sometimes vision boards within the year that you set it or the year that you do it, you don't ever accomplish everything in that one year.
Mhm.
It's not just a vision board for the year. This is a vision board for the rest of your life.
Mhm.
And so, granted, you may put down that you want to work with Starbucks, which is what I did. I
Mhm.
put down that I wanted to work with Starbucks. I put down that I wanted to work with anthropology. And I put down a slew of other things, but I really put those two things as like really big goals, like a huge Starbucks logo and the huge, like the things that were the biggest were the things that were important to me and that I prioritized. And I just kept that on my wall for like a year and a half to, yeah, a year and a half because I took it down uh, last year. Um, and so when I did that, I just worked and I had faith and I kept that vision in mind that I wanted to work with these companies. And then lo and behold, I get 2 companies that weren't even remotely close this year alone. Last year and this year, I was able to acquire these 2 companies solely based off of them coming to me. They found me, and they found my website, and they were attracted to my work, and my work fit with their brands, and it fit with the theme that they were going for. And I always say that that's not something that man can design. The
Mhm.
timing of that, the curation of divine timing. I always say it was them coming to me. I had no idea that they were looking at me. I had zero clue. I knew that I wanted to work with Starbucks. I knew I wanted to work with anthropology, and I had a mentor. My mentor at the time, Shaniqua Gay, was telling me, "Why don't you ask for more?" She's like, your your visions, you're being minimalistic with your visions. Go ask for more. You're when you ask for more, you get more.
Mhm.
And so I didn't understand it at the time what she was trying to tell me. But when I got these 2 big brands looking at me, I was like, "Oh, that's what she meant, ask for more." That when you put that out in the universe, it's a boomerang effect. It
Mhm.
comes back tenfold when
Yeah.
you really do trust and believe in your work and in yourself. And if you believe in a higher power, like I do, it shows. And like man did not design that interaction between me and these brand alignments.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's some power. Don't so yeah me. That's some powerful stuff right there. Oh my
Yes.
god. Yeah, it's so true though.
Mhm.
You really do have to like I don't know, like you do have to believe in
Have to believe
yourself and you
in
have to
yourself.
believe that these things are possible even if you don't know how.
You're
Like
putting that out there in the universe. You're
mhm.
putting it the work that you're doing is is a reciprocal act.
Mhm.
And as long as you're doing the work, it's going to come back.
For sure.
However, whatever bad you put out is gonna come back bad. Whatever
Mhm.
good you put out, input, output. I always say it's input. What you input is the output that you're gonna get. So if your work is bad and you're not trying and you're at the base level of what you're doing and you're just not trying to get better, or you're trying to scam somebody or whatever the case may be, you're gonna get that back. It's not gonna be a good return.
Yeah.
But if you are genuine in your output and you're genuine in what you're trying to input into the universe and making the world a better place, you're going to see it in a completely different perspective. You're going to see it in a more positive light. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's like manifestation right
absolutely
there for
100%.
sure. And I hate like, some people think it's woo woo, but like there's too many people out here who've been like living their dreams and who've
Mhm.
been in the same position as where we all started,
Yep.
right? For it to not work.
Mhm. And I
So,
still feel like I'm at the beginning. I feel like this is the beginning. Every year I do something that amazes myself. Like I always like outdo myself and then I'm
mhm.
like, can I how can I top this? Like where is the next step? Like I was like, is this the end? Like I feel like I'm doing good. I feel like I'm
Yeah.
okay. And And I know like a lot of people say they have bad days or good days, but I don't believe in bad days or good days. I believe that you make the day that you want
Me
by
too.
you make the day that you want by your attitude, by how you perceive the world. So when I wake up, I don't say that I'm gonna have a good day or a bad day. I wake up with zero expectations of what the outcome of the day is gonna be. I just know that I want to be safe and I want to be content with whatever I have done today. So I stopped having good days, bad days. I have very like, oh, okay, this is cool. This is a good day. This is, or like it's been a tiresome day, but
Mhm.
you still just keep going.
And I feel like those tiresome days make us appreciate the ooh days a little bit
Yes,
more. Like, oh,
the
okay, that just
relaxing days.
happened.
Yeah,
Yeah, like you can't have the good without the learning lessons and those little obstacles that you have to face.
ebbs and flows.
Yeah, for sure. So, do you practice gratitude?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Every day. Every day. I might not write it down, but every day. It's so funny because I'm with myself all the time, right? 24/7, 365. We're with ourselves, right?
Yeah.
And or when I'm really like by myself in my car driving, that is where I practice all of my gratitude because for me, driving is a little bit second nature once you become comfortable driving.
Mhm.
And so that is a place for me to be able to like really meditate. So I don't really listen to music while I drive. I kind of just have that time and space for me to be alone with God and like to really just appreciate where I am right now. I'm like, every time I get good news or if I get bad news, it's like, you know what, God, I really do appreciate the fact that you allowed me to just have this experience, to just,
Mhm.
the life that I'm experiencing right now and like the circumstances that I have been in before made me who I am today. So I'm super grateful for just that opportunity alone to just figure my way out, and make a way for myself and like to be able to even just voice what I want and see the outcome of the results that I'm asking for. So I'm super grateful even just to be able to do that. So yeah, I do practice a lot of gratitude.
That's really, like, really wise of you because I think it's really easy, especially in this world where social media is doing its thing, life is doing its thing, especially social media, where you can just
Mhm.
see someone that appears to be doing better than you
Yes.
when there's so much in life that
Hmm.
everyone just goes through that
Hmm.
you just don't see.
Hmm.
I think it's easy to just be like really hard on yourself and be like,
Yep.
just let those good moments just pass you by because you're so
Mhm.
focused. Like, I know for me, my goals shift. You know what I mean? Now that I've
Absolutely.
accomplished something, kind of like what you mentioned earlier, like I'm like, okay, can I accomplish this instead of like really
Mhm.
sitting in the moment of like, this just happened.
You're right.
Like, wait a minute, like
Where's the celebration?
yeah, like me a year ago, I would be flipping. Like what? Like no way. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think it means a lot to just take a minute and be like, this just happened,
Right.
and let me appreciate this before we move on to the next.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
yeah, that was super good. Okay, do you ever face imposter syndrome?
Every day. Every day. I'm like, who's watching me? Who's watching me? Am I fake? Am I being fake?
Mhm.
Am I being real enough? Like, do people see me as a real person? Like, and then I have to calm that down and like, you know what? Chill out, girl. Like, you are who you are. You are living the life that you want to live, and you are aiming towards the goals that you're aiming towards, and it doesn't matter what someone thinks of you. And I had a job where it taught me all of that. It taught me all of that in 1 year that there are gonna be people out there that just don't like you just because of who you are. They don't like you just because of who you are. Just because you are Sydney or you are Vanna, it doesn't matter. You are who you are, and they don't vibe with your energy. You are not for everybody.
Mhm.
And once I realized that, it helps me just kinda like be calm, cool, collected with wherever I was. Don't put any expectations on people.
Mhm.
Because that's what you really set yourself up for disappointment when you put expectations on people, places, things, and events.
Yeah.
Just go in with a clear slate, clean mind, and kind of like how I came in today. I
Yeah.
really you sent me the questions, and I was like, oh, okay. I'll just when I get there, I'll answer how I just I wanted to be comfortable and casual. I don't want it to be like hiccups, and so just being authentic and true to self. I think that we are influenced by a lot of the things that are around us. And I
Mhm.
think sometimes we change and adapt to society. And we can conform a little bit. I know
Yeah.
that I don't want to be a conforming person. I feel like when we conform, we let the world get the best of us. And I want to be an observer. I want to be somebody that kind of just sits back and watches the world and say, how can I contribute? What piece can I bring to the world?
I think that's beautiful because I think like something that as a people pleaser, something I've been working on is like not everybody's gonna like my art, not everyone's
Mhm.
gonna like me, but there are the people who do like my art and do like me, and like that's enough.
Mhm.
To have
That's
the
enough.
whole world like you is overwhelming.
That's
That's a
a
lot of weight.
that's a lot of catering. That's a
Yeah.
lot of catering and a lot of to be the best, right?
Mhm.
Even just taking Beyonce for example. There are a lot of people that don't like Beyonce, right?
Yeah.
My brother is a huge Beyonce fan. I'm not a Beyonce fan, but I'm not a fan like my brother,
Right.
right?
Not a
But
stan.
I respect her so much as an artist, and but it's more so like I respect you as an artist, but I don't know you as a person. But like you have people who know her, or they think they know her, and they fall in love with her.
Mhm.
I'm not that person.
Yeah.
So you'll have people who fall in love with you, and then you have people who are just watching you from a distance, kind of letting you do your thing, and then you have people who say, "Hey, I don't agree with this person at all,"
Yeah.
and then you grow from that. It's a great balance to have. Just and it keeps you humble
It
too. It really
does.
does keep you humble, and I think it keeps you out of being narcissistic, right?
For
It keeps
sure.
you from like being too self-absorbed, right?
Mhm.
You do need to have outside opinions, but not to the point where it changes you and makes you anxious or makes you depressed. I
Mhm.
think you can listen to those and take that feedback
Mhm.
and allow for yourself to be like, okay, is this something that I want to change about myself? Is this something that I want to grow from? And is this how people see me? And if it is how multiple people see me, is this something that I want to put out into the world? You
Right,
know?
right, and because I think it's all about knowing who you are,
Hmm.
because it's like if someone is like, "Oh, you're greedy," but, like, you donating, you know that you're there for your friends, like,
Yes.
you know that's not true, so
Right.
right there, it's invalid because you know who you are. It's
Exactly.
the same thing with art, like, it's of course, it's a personal
Hmm.
opinion, and everybody's
Hmm.
entitled to their personal opinion, but if you are able to look at your work and be like, "I can compare this to where I was last year, 5 years ago, and I can tell that I'm growing in the direction that I want to,"
Yes.
someone saying that my work is trash is just, like, invalid to me, you
Absolutely.
know?
Yep.
And I think it's really good. You should love yourself because you're with yourself for the rest of your life, so it's like a balance. You don't wanna be too, like, up in the clouds,
Hmm.
but I mean, who's gonna love you more than you?
Right.
Like,
Who's going to be your biggest cheerleader more than yourself?
yeah, so
Hmm.
we all deserve the most love, so let's give ourselves the most love and just let
Pat
people.
yourself on the
Yeah.
back.
So, yeah, okay. So, what is some advice that you would give to the younger version of yourself?
Be patient.
Mm,
Um, don't rush. And I think you are where you're supposed to be. You are learning the mistakes and making the mistakes that you're supposed to be making.
mm,
And just don't be too hard on yourself when making those mistakes. Learn from them so that you can get to where you're supposed to be, where you want to be, or where you want to see yourself. That is something that advice that I would give to my younger self. I was very impatient. And I would say also to control your emotions.
mm,
I think I was very emotionally driven in my 20s, all of my 20s. And I was living in my emotions. I was very angry and upset all the time, or I was like overly excited and just had a lot of expectations on people. And now that I'm in my later 30s, it's all of that foundational work that I've done in my 20s helps me stay balanced today.
Yeah.
And remind, like, every time I get upset or if I find myself being in a place of disappointment now, because I may have set an arbitrary expectation on something subconsciously and the outcome wasn't what I thought it would be, I have to say, oh, okay, I think I put an expectation on that and I shouldn't have. So
Yeah.
I sound different to myself. I don't get upset at the fact I take responsibility for that emotional placement
Mm.
on the person or on the situation that I may have put myself in.
I think it's something when you mentioned about your 20s, because
Mhm.
I'm in my 20s, girl, and it's crazy. Like the emotions, the healing, like it's a lot. So I think it's all like learning to parent yourself,
Woo, you
you
learned
know?
that now. You learned that now. That is amazing.
No, because girl, my emotions are like, I'll be like, I'm not talking to you anymore. I'm like, I get well, yeah, so I'm very emotionally driven. I'm an emotional person, and it's the same thing with like I feed off of other people's emotions. So it's very important for me to be self-aware, right?
Woo,
So I don't just
self-awareness.
yeah, it's important. And I think being self-aware is also an act of self-love because you're able to
100%.
yeah, because you're able to truly like be there for yourself, like not shut away those bad feelings, those valid feelings, right? But just be like, okay, why do we feel this way? Why are we acting this way? Why do we expect so much out of this person? Let me bring it back to myself.
Mhm.
There's something there that we need to sort of comb
Address.
through,
Yeah.
right? And it becomes easier with time,
Mhm.
doing it. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's some really good stuff. Cause girl, mm-mm.
I always say, like, once you are an adult, you have to parent yourself.
Yeah.
Your parents are no, they're not your parents really. They're more so like your guide. They're still just
Mhm.
there for just that moral support
Mentoring, like
and mentoring.
yeah.
And when you become an adult, their job is over. It's now your turn to
Yeah.
take over and take the wheels and take what they have taught you and
Mhm.
kind of find your way. And then some of the things that they've taught you, you might discard
Yeah.
because they don't really fit your life. And you might disappoint them because,
Mhm.
what they taught you doesn't fit for what you want to see in your future. That some parents have designed their own children's future. I've seen that before, and it's
Mhm.
an act of rebellion. And
Yeah.
as an artist, that's how you really know you're an artist is that act of rebellion. You're wanting to create your own future.
Yeah, and yeah, I feel like what's really cool though about learning to parent yourself is that deeper understanding of self, right?
Yes.
I have to say that I've noticed I've been so used to just mindlessly going about things, you know what I mean? Because I'm like, hey, my parents got it, like,
Mm,
you know what I mean?
that's
But
deep.
now when it's like, I have to trust myself and I have to
Hmm.
build that trust.
Yeah.
And then like, how do I do that? It's by knowing who I am, by
Hmm.
debunking these things, these
Yeah.
childhood traumas, these why am I so hard on myself and the
Hmm.
art, like all these different things. And
Hmm.
then that all turns into just trust and self-love
Yeah.
and being gentle to others too,
Yes.
you know?
Definitely being gentle to others
Yeah.
because when you are gentle with others, it makes you more self-aware, like, okay, how am I treating myself?
Yeah.
And when you are helping others, you find peace and satisfaction that way as well. And I think a lot of that kind of my style too, um, took a lot of self-love.
Mhm.
I think when I was back in 2018, 5 years ago, I was going through some like really traumatic, life-changing events. And I was like, I don't know how to fix my life. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know. I couldn't really see my future.
Mhm.
And one of the things that I did was I would help my friends. and I would go sit with my friends. I would go spend time with them, and that was really a time for me to really learn who I was as a person, was to go help them and like
Mhm.
maybe go rake their leaves in their yard and kind of get out of myself,
Yeah.
because I was spending so much time with myself. I was like, I need to get away from me. I need to get I need to get away from myself. And the only way to do that is to really put yourself in the place of others and helping them.
For sure. This kind of it's on topic but off topic, but what you
Mhm.
said reminded me of the way that I was approaching social media for a while.
Mhm.
It's so easy to approach as like, "Oh, I'm collecting followers," right? "Oh,
Mhm.
I'm just trying to get to this 1,000,000. I'm just
Mhm.
trying to get these numbers." But I think I found and then once I got to a certain follower count, I think it was 20,000,
Mhm.
I felt very, like, empty inside. I'm like,
Mm.
I don't really feel fulfilled. I don't really
Wow.
feel like I'm living in my purpose because I
Mhm.
think everybody thinks, oh, once you get to a certain number, it's all going to make sense. And
Mhm.
something that started to make social media make sense is when I started having conversations with the people who followed me, when I
Nice.
started asking them what they do, what
Yeah.
makes them happy,
Yeah.
um, and really diving into that and getting to know them and getting to know
Mhm.
what they're going through in life.
Yeah.
And it became less about me and
Mhm.
more about me just connecting with like-minded people, you
Yes.
know? And I think it's really important because social media life in general, it becomes really depressing if you're just all up in
Mhm.
yourself.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
yeah,
I
so
agree.
yeah.
I Shaniqua Gay had taught me this phrase that you 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 meet no one but you.
Mm,
So when you're meeting someone, you're meeting a reflection of you because you may be projecting something onto that person,
mhm.
and that you may see something in them that you always do. And so and that's just a reminder to always be kind to the person that you're speaking to, because you also could be speaking to yourself
Yeah.
in that same moment in time, and like what you say to them could easily offend them or easily rub them the wrong way, and are you putting love into that person if you're doing
Mhm.
that?
So there was this thing I saw on Instagram yesterday, and it was this guy, he turned 30. He was like, I remember when I was 18, I used to call 30-year-olds old, and I don't even feel, he was like, I don't feel as old
Mhm,
as like I am 30. You know what I mean? I don't
mhm.
look as old, like all these things. And he's like, all to all you 18-year-olds, and watch what you say to these 30-year-olds, because you're gonna feel the
You're gonna
same
feel the same
way.
way.
It's literally we're all mirrors, which
Yeah.
is really deep.
Mhm. Yeah, we're just at different stages where I feel like we're kinda like this one being just trying to figure out different levels and different stages of life, and like
Yeah.
we're, just living an
But I
experience.
think that's the beauty of connecting because someone has the
Mhm.
answer to something that you don't have.
That's it. Yes.
Yeah, and it's like that's why it's all you find the most fulfillment because it's like
Mhm.
it's of course you don't wanna think of things as transactional, but in a way it is
Right. It's
exchange, you
it
know?
Yep. This
So,
life is reciprocal.
yeah.
Everything in life is reciprocal. From the beginning to the end, in order for you to get here, you have to give a breath of fresh air. You're getting air from the trees, and like it's a whole recycling process, right?
Yeah.
So how did you get here? It's a give and take.
Yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
We just got so deep.
Getting deep, getting
Oh,
deep.
look, you guys are getting this for free. This this
Yes.
wisdom. Okay. So, what is something about yourself that you were very proud of?
Believing in myself.
Hmm.
When there was a time that I didn't. I thought that there was a point in my life, relationship-wise, I thought this is just what my life was gonna be like. I did not see myself as an artist. I didn't see this as a future. Um, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I didn't know where I wanted to be because I dabbled in so many different things. But I think it just took the one naysayer that didn't believe in me to really put a fire under my butt and be like, okay, this is where I'm supposed to be. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. How dare you tell me I'm not? And once I started believing in myself because that one naysayer didn't, it just set off a trajectory. And so I'm proud of myself for staying on the path of want. And designing my life and saying, okay, that's my future. How do I get there? Step one, believe in yourself. And so I'm proud of myself for believing in myself.
I'm proud of you
Thank
too,
you
because
so
look at how
much.
far you
Yeah.
come. You're doing the
Yeah.
damn thing, as they say.
Oh my gosh, you're so silly.
Okay, so, what are some of your creative goals in the future?
Who I want to do sculpting. So I
Ooh.
have these visions of these beings in these shapes, these hollow shapes, and I want them to be these 3D sculptures. And I'm working on the time. I know it's going to be divine timing for me to be able to even do this, but I'm wanting to dabble in different mediums. And so artistically, I think um, just moving away from paint and moving away from wood panels, even though I know that still is always going to be there,
Mhm.
I want to put my work onto other things. And so that's where I do see myself moving creatively. I think that was the question that you asked.
Yeah, I'm excited. I can't wait to
I
see.
know. I don't know when it's gonna happen, which is a crazy thing. You never know because timing is always of the essence.
Mhm.
So I trust the timing of when all of this is gonna happen.
It may just be randomly you're at a certain place, you're like, "Oh, wait, there's clay right here, or there's this material right here. I'm feeling spontaneous. I got the weekend
Mhm.
off. Like, let me see what I can do." It could be
Yeah.
just as simple as that.
Absolutely. And I just bought a printer too, so I want to have an e-commerce store.
Ooh.
My goal is to try and have that up by spring of next year. So I'm like, what do I need to do in order to get this done? And like, how do I see this store operating and like keeping up with the account and everything?
Hello, it's Sydney from the future. Due to some technical difficulties, we lost the final footage of the end of our podcast with Vanna. So I just want to let you know, Vanna, thank you so much for being on the podcast with us. I am so inspired by your story and your art, and it was such a pleasure to have you. And I feel like your story will inspire others to start their creative journey. If you want to follow Vanna, you can follow her at The Real Vanna Black on Instagram, or you can also check out her website, vannablack.art. These will all be listed in the description as well. So thank you guys so much, and I'm so sorry for the technical difficulties. We'll see you next time. Thank you for listening to Leaf Notes. If you're watching on YouTube, go ahead and drop a like and a comment letting us know what your takeaway was. And if you're just listening, head over to social media after taking a screenshot and tag us letting us know what your takeaway was. If you want to give us a rating, head over to your favorite podcast app and give us a 5-star rating or let us know what you think. This will help us connect with more business owners and creatives just like you. And with that being said, we hope that your business takes root and grows, and we'll see you next time.